I think that it's silly that people don't want, it's almost like they don't want to admit how simple some things are these days to record. It's easy. I mean, it's not easy to get it to the finished product to do all of the things, mixing and whatever, but setting it up and plugging it in and making it record a sound is super easy.
Yes. And sometimes people want to buy the swishiest thing, or they've got a particular thing in mind. And when they have that thing, then they'll make their album. And I think that's really dangerous thinking, because you're putting this really arbitrary barrier in the way.
Totally agree.
And also not probably giving yourself time to learn how to use that thing first. I say this as a woman who's sitting in front of a stack of synthesizers, some of which I know how to use, others of which are on my to-do list. This is part of my Creative Spaces series. So I want to talk about artistry and spaces and things and songwriting and stuff to do with your record that's coming out.
Sure.
We should probably do an intro so people know who on earth you are.
My name is Ryan Hamilton. I'm super happy to be here. I don't know when this is going to go out, Laura, but if anybody's been paying attention, I'm going through a bit of a shitstorm right now. So I'm very happy to be here. Laura and I have kind of connected on the internet, and her husband have been really great about reaching out to me. So I'm thrilled to be doing this. I'm a big fan of you. So thanks for having me.
You're not alone. None of us are. That's the beautiful thing about the internet. Although it obviously has its horrendous downsides, it's just a place where people are. So let's talk about where you are and what your current creative space and creative setup is, because you told me it's quite an unusual space.
It is, yeah. So my wife and I live in an old farmhouse. So when we got this place, there was this barn. It's about 100 years old. I'm sure this is where you'll insert some really beautifully shot by myself clips.
I do hope so.
Of the barn itself. So yeah, I renovated this barn, turned it into a studio, and I think it's important as an artist to be visually stimulated. The vibe in the room is just as important as the gear. I've learned that. So just stuff like all of this behind me and this really cool room is in an old barn that there's still the original brick walls. It's just got a whole vibe about it. Just walking in, you know you're walking into an old building. American old, not British old. Those are different.
Like 20, 30 years, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. British people are like, since the beginning of time. And I'm like, it's really old. How old is it? It's like 90 years. It's old.
Yeah. Well, I'm in a castle, as you can see.
Everyone lives in castles.
Every single one of us.
Exactly.
I totally agree with you on the visually simulating thing. And it's only in the room before this I had and this room that I actually did something about that. I think I just had a real sort of poverty mindset in my life that's come from a lot of previous experiences, but just like, I don't deserve to have a nice paint color, or who do I think I am to make a nice space to work in? But I've had a separate workspace, like a music making space, for the past 6 or 7 houses. I just never made it look nice. And now I do. Yeah. And it's totally game changing. So yeah, I'm glad that you discovered that one. It's a good one.
Like, did you notice the way you created really changed?
Yeah, massively. It just made the room much more productive. I wanted to be in it all the time.
Exactly.
So speaking of gear then, what are your absolute essentials for making your music? Okay,
so I've tried vintage vocal mics, the most expensive to the cheapest, and I always land on this Audio Technica, I think it's the AD 2020, or AT, I can never remember. But that microphone, for whatever reason, I mean, the last 4 or 5 records, it's all been that microphone. And you get really excited with like an expensive piece of gear or a vintage thing. And I always go back to this microphone. I don't know what it is. It's not the most expensive, but it's not the cheapest. Mm-hmm. So I use Logic. I don't know what you record with.
Yeah, me too.
I have to have Logic. I'm a Logic guy. And then I use a lot of Waves plugins, and then the Chris Lord Algae stuff. Some of those CLA plugins are really great.
Yeah, I have the CLA vocal thing. It's brilliant.
It is. And even so he has an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar one. They're both amazing. than those two things, I do have a vintage mixing board from the 70s that came out of a military base here. There's a military base in Texas called Fort Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess at one point, Fort Hood in the 70s had a recording studio. Seems weird that they're in there making records. I don't know. Anyway, I use that sometimes and can get some really cool sounds out of that. So if I had to pick three, I would say the microphone, Logic, and then that vintage board.
You can do pretty much everything with those three things, can't you? Logic's so brilliant.
It's magic. And people, I have other artists come in here and they bring their amps or whatever. And I just go, put your amp back in your car. Like there's no need. Don't bring it in here. We're going to plug your guitar straight into the computer and Logic is going to make it sound however you want. And that's okay. A lot of people want to be very pure about the recording. And it's like, I get that. But
yeah, I think that it's very individual how, like, the parameters you set for yourself and the rules you set for yourself. And if you want everything to be completely, I was going to say completely analog, obviously we're talking about digital recording, but if you wanted everything to be in the room and captured by a microphone and no second takes, and you can do whatever you want. I don't record that way, but if you want to, that's cool. I think it's whatever gets you to keep your interest in the project to finish the thing is fine by me.
Yes.
But I think also being a purist and saying that someone should this or that, my brain turns off when someone's like, this is the only way you could ever make music, because we're all just making it up. That's ridiculous. It's the stupidest thing in the world to tell me what I should do.
Yeah.
When we're just, conjuring notes from the sky. I mean, what? There is no template for this stuff.
You're exactly right.
My setup is so ridiculously simple. But it works, I just have an audio interface. I do have a DI box, which I use. I was going to ask if you use a DI box when you plug your guitar into your computer. We're going really basic here. How do you get the sound into the computer?
So I do have one of those interfaces. A lot of people have, the Scarlett or whatever. There's an M Audio one. There's some really great ones. My stuff goes into that vintage board from the 70s, then into the audio interface. And then if for some reason the old school board is a little bit noisy, which it gets sometimes, that I just go straight into the audio interface.
There you go. It is these little details. When I watch videos about people's setups, they sort of don't mention the really key part where, like, how do you connect that to that? And I don't think it's too basic to say so. It's people will talk about their guitar pedals till the cows come home, but they won't say how they got the sound into the computer in the first place. You're just like,
I know.
I mean, I do know how. I'm not telling you I don't know how. I'm just saying for people watching who are trying to learn, I know how you plug it in. I'm asking so you can tell other people. I know what an instrument cable is. Don't worry.
Yeah, I believe you.
I say this as a woman who's sitting in front of a stack of synthesizers, some of which I know how to use, others of which are on my to-do list. They look really nice.
Well, exactly. You beat me to that, like we were talking about earlier. And now, look, it is important to be surrounded by things that you look at and you're like, God, that's really cool. I'm glad I have that. If you play it or not, it's important. Hold on. Yeah. Perfect example. Hold, please. This is not plugged in at all. Okay, so this phone from the 80s, this Garfield phone, it's a phone, but it's Garfield. This is not plugged in. This cord doesn't go anywhere. But I needed this.
I see that.
It's not functional. This Garfield and some of your synthesizers are the same.
They have the same musical value.
It's the same.
The problem, though, is now I need that one. I'm going to be on eBay immediately after this. Where do you think your songs come from?
Oh, great question. No idea. So I don't remember who said it. Tank Williams, Sr. He says something to the extent of, I just hold on to the pen while God talks. Like it was sending, like he just holds on to the pen, and whatever that is, he hopes to get it down while that is being sent to him. I feel that same way. Any song I've ever tried to sit down and write has been terrible. Not one has ever gone on an album.
Oh, wow.
Some people have that gift to go work and write every day. And Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie did this experiment where he packed a lunch every day and he rented an office space and he went to work every day, right? And he would try and write a song every day.
Yeah.
And he went one day, it hadn't really been going well. And then all of a sudden, I Will Follow You Into the Dark appeared, right? And it was just like, and it was before I think he sat down to write. It just like was there when he arrived one day. And I think that's the trick. You kind of have to wait for it. This is just my opinion. For me, I have to be that way. If I try and force it, it doesn't work. But thank God for technology, because it's always when I'm driving or in the shower or some sort of like sensory, you're almost hypnotized or, meditating, like that kind of mind space that you get in whenever you're focusing on something without all the distractions. I would say most songs appear then, and then I have to grab my phone, and the melody is always first in a lyric.
That's a cool way around. Do you think that Ben Gibbard came up with that song because he'd done all those days where he was working, and then it was sort of like, now you get this? Because I've always really enjoyed that. There's a Picasso quote, inspiration finds you working. I'm of the mindset that if I'm sitting there ready to receive these gifts, or however you want to sort of put it, then that's better than if I'm just sort of like, I don't know what I'd do with the rest of my time anyway. I have to go, I'm writing an album now. I have to get into that mindset and then sort of organise all of my thoughts and ideas and then sit and go, right, I'm going to work on this today. But again, it's whatever works, isn't it? I think it's just however you trick yourself into it. Because I have to trick myself into it by going, well, I'm working and this is what my job is. And then I will create this thing. Because I don't know what I would do with my time otherwise. I'm not a sitting around doing nothing sort of person, sadly.
Yeah.
So I can't just sit and wait for it on my Garfield phone going, hello? Oh, there's the song. Yes, it wasn't even plugged in. What?
I wish it worked like that.
Yeah.
The conversation to be had is the one that we're having, like, Ben Gibbard. Is it because he put in the work, or is it because he went in and before he could even start work, it appeared and that's the thing? Or would it not have appeared if he wouldn't have been putting in the work? And we don't know. No one knows. We're all just kind of guessing.
We just like to spend our time in ways that we've convinced ourselves are useful. And that's fine, because that gets us to the thing. I've got lots of different ways that I've convinced myself my time is usefully spent. It may or may not be. I don't know.
I'll tell you something my former manager told me. If there was a formula or something that worked every time, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah.
There's not a formula. There's not a way to go, this is how it works. This works every time. And that does not exist in the music business. And it's one of the most torturous things about doing this for a living is there's not a way to do it that is guaranteed to work. That does not exist. It's very hard, but it's also very important because you have to find the thing that makes you, you.
Yes. How much of your time do you spend thinking, wow, this is what I do for a living? Huh? How did that happen? How do I keep this going?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's the hard part the last few years, right? Because, I haven't had a real job in 20 years now. So and I'm on my third record deal. And, it's been this forever promise of you're going to be the next big thing. And I'm in my 40s now. And it's never become the thing that people have been promising for so long. So to me, that's the hardest part is, yes, I'm blessed to get to do this.
Yeah.
But how do I get there? Do I need to get out of the mind frame of, am I ever going to get to that place that everybody's been telling me I'm going to get to for 20 years? Like, what's the deal? I do think about it a lot, but for me, and I think a lot of artists do the same thing, it's the struggle of how to think about it and what mind space to get in. Because you can drive yourself crazy. You can drive yourself to a very sad place, or you can drive yourself to a very like optimistic, I got this, I'm going to do it this way this time. But for me, it's constant.
And do you think if those people hadn't said those things to you about you're going to be the next whatever, would you have enjoyed your success that you have had more?
Oh my God, great question. I don't know, because I have seen so much change. My first band a long time ago that was successful, we were a big MySpace band. And that was my first record deal and tour bus. And, you know, I mean, that's a lot of money and a lot of records and a long time ago. But then all the record stores were still open. Apple Music was brand new. Facebook didn't exist. And Spotify definitely didn't exist. So I was part of the old school model that they didn't realize was dying. I was at the very end, the last group of us to like, oh, we're successful. We're going to do it. We're fine. And then there was that big sea change in the music business where everybody was like, what are we going to do? The record store's closed. Everything's digital now. You know, after that, I think I would have enjoyed it more if they wouldn't have continued to say, you're going to be this and it's going to be okay. And so the truth is, they didn't have a fucking clue. Nobody knew what to do at that time. Everyone was freaking out. And they're trying to tell their artists, like, you're fine. Like, look, we got this. Look at everything that's happened. Nobody knew what was going to happen. So I do wish I wouldn't have been told at that time after everything kind of fell apart.
I've never had great expectations for myself in that sense. Like, I've never had anyone championing me and telling me you're going to be huge or this or that. But every time I make a record, there is a moment where I think this could change my life. This could bring some financial security if I sell enough copies, or it could, you know, people could know my name a bit more, or, you know, or like a big chunk more people might come and see me play, things like that. And then it was only the last one, I think, where I just thought, I sort of had to remind myself that I used to think that way almost, because I wasn't thinking about that. Because I know now that it's always incremental growth when I put something out. I sell everything through my shop or Bandcamp. I mean, obviously, there are other places people can buy things, but I know how many things I sell. I see it. So it's not like a cross my fingers, hope someone picks me situation. And that feels really nice. But because I've never had that sort of like, you could be freaking huge. I've never had that in my mind, so that I have the drive to keep making things always. But I wonder if I would have reached further if someone was bigging me up like that, because it's not necessarily bad when someone's telling you you're amazing and giving you that, you know, wonderful support and encouragement and all that. So I didn't mean to say that it like they should never have given you any compliments.
Oh, no, no.
That's fine.
Look, no, I totally get where you're coming from. And I do have a question for you, because I'm super curious about something you just said. So once you finally let go of that thing, right? And you said you kind of let go of that on this most recent record.
Yeah.
Is this most recent record your biggest success?
Yeah, it is. I think so. Well, it is.
That's
and it
interesting.
Well, yes, it is. It is, but also because it's shared with someone else, it's not the biggest financial success, which is a separate thing anyway. But it is. Yeah, I suppose it is.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to watch. And you probably don't even know that, you know, people like me were going, what's going on here? But it's been really wonderful.
Thank you. What's the most satisfying song you've written for your album that's coming out?
The most satisfying song I wrote for the album that's coming out is called Asshole. And
I think I love it already.
Yeah, there you go. So whenever I had the demo, I was like, God, the song is really good, but I don't even know what to do with this song. Like, what in the world is this? Can this be played on radio? I have no idea. You know, what's the line as far as cursing and what you can and can't say and whatever? Do I have to bleep it? The song is called this. It's the chorus. So I have the greatest manager in the world. His name is Steve. And Steve was like, I'm going to research and see if anybody else has a song with this title.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a little research. Not only do a handful of other artists have a song called Asshole, it's their most streamed song. All of them. It's their, like, nobody listens to any of their other songs. Asshole is their big one.
I know of one. Martha Wainwright.
Yeah.
Bloody motherfucking asshole. It's her song.
Yeah. So once I had that, I was like, okay, I've never had to embrace a song like this and really go for it. But I gave myself the permission, kind of the pass to like, I'm going to put this song out. And not only am I going to put this out, we're going to do a music video and whatever. And it's going to be like the single, whatever that means these days. You know what I mean? It's on Sirius XM over here. It's on Planet Rock over there.
Oh, great.
It's not everywhere. Some people literally were like, I'm never playing this song on the radio. How dare you? But that's what I wanted. That I wanted to have that sort of song. So just to have the, I almost said the balls to put out Asshole, which sounds really wrong.
We're not restricted to radio now, so there would always be an avenue for that Asshole song, even if all the radio said no. Then you can still play it and people can still hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the one.
Okay. It's a great answer. I'm excited to hear all of them, but particularly that one. Obviously.
Yeah.
Although in this country it's arsehole.
Well, I'm going to name drop real quick. So Justin Hawkins heard Asshole and sent me a message.
Amazing.
If you want the song to go to the top of the charts, you're going to need some radio play. And having arsehole in the title is exactly the kind of self-sabotaging move that I would do. So I'm equal parts proud of you, and also have to say it's not going to be a hit, but just because of the decision you made. So self-sabotage, baby, is the way to go. I don't want to be an asshole. Arsehole, brilliant.
He's brilliant. I love his YouTube channel. It's so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
What tips would you give someone who's finding it hard to give themselves time to be creative?
My advice to them was to stop being lazy. I hate that when people are like, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
You totally have the time.
Yeah.
Stop watching Love Island for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And go do something creative or whatever. Like whatever. I love trash television. I reference that show because I watched that show.
I've never seen it. That's why I can't engage with it. I'm sorry. I don't know.
This is the thing people are going to give me shit about on this now. But now they've forgotten about Asshole. They're going to be like, Love Island, you're an idiot. But like, seriously, just find the thing. Like if you are at the end of the day, you're tired. I get it. Find the time. There's totally time. So I think it's important just to do it.
We spend time on the things we think are important. And so if you don't have any time left, maybe the things you've chosen that are important, or maybe you haven't chosen it on purpose, but you're doing things that aren't then. Yeah.
Yeah. I was being a little funny about people being lazy, but
yes,
it's that thing. It's carving it out where you can go, okay, I could watch less Netflix and take an hour or half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or less. 15 minutes.
Whatever.
Play guitar. Be creative. Paint.
Yes. If you want to do something, just do it. No one's stopping you but yourself. Yes, of course, we all have different financial situations and, responsibilities and stuff. But please tell me you can find 5 minutes for yourself in the day. That if not, that's not fair and you need some more help from whoever's supposed to be helping you.
Yeah.
And that would make me happy if they would help you out.
Everybody has all the technology they need on their phone. If you want to record a demo, you can record it on your phone. If you want to sing a song, you can record it into your phone. There's a way.
Yeah. But if it makes you feel inspired to get Ryan's microphone that I can't remember the name of, then go for it. But then you have to use it though.
Yeah.
Don't just let it sit there on a shelf.
Yeah.
For years. Look at that dust.
There's dust.
That dusty old grandmother.
Yes. Oh God, amazing.
All right. So, how can people support your music, Ryan Hamilton? How on earth?
So what I would really love for people to do right now is, of course, I'm in all the places on the internet, all of the things. But what I would really like to do, and I've really followed your lead here, is I have a new newsletter. I want it to be that community thing, separate from all of the bullshit, the Facebook, whatever. You can only scroll through and look at political stuff so many times before you're like, God, get me out of here. So just go sign up for my new newsletter. It's, link in bio on the website, blah, blah, blah. Just go do that.
Well, thank you so much for being on Creative Spaces with me.
My pleasure.
Yeah, hooray.